Om Sahanavavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Maha Bharatam Advaitaamrutavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayinim Amba Tvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. My namaskars to you all who are listening this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So the last class marked the conclusion on the deliberation of the last verse of 6th chapter, Shashtodhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And this is very significant. This first 6 chapters out of this 18. Many commentators have referred and as if they see Bhagavad Gita in the sections of this 6 and 6 chapters. So total 18 chapters. And some call them that first chapter, first 6th, they are like the Jnana portion of Bhagavad Gita. The second 6 chapters, they are like Bhakti portion of Bhagavad Gita. And the last section from 13 to 18, those 6 chapters, they are the Karma Yoga portion of the Bhagavad Gita. And various ways people refer to them. I see these chapters. So these first 6 chapters, they are really very concentrated in the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. So definitely it is about the knowledge portion of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. That is the first 6 chapters. Instead of, in my very humble and very personal opinion, I feel it is not only the philosophy, but or jnana, but what we see here, the synthesis of jnana, karma and bhakti, all three we find in this, and even yoga. So second chapter, we see the emphasis of the Jnana Yoga. In the third chapter onwards starts the synthesis of karma and jnana. And then fourth and fifth chapter again, they are infused with very prolific ideas about this philosophy. Fourth and fifth chapter. Sixth chapter, it comes to jnana and yoga. And as it ends, as we have seen in the last chapter, so it denotes, it points out the surrender. What Bhagavan had said? He had said that in the 46th, the last but one verse, that he said to Arjuna that be yogi, that the yogi indeed is greater than tapasvi, jnani and karmi. So yogi being the greatest, tasmat yogi bhava Arjuna. That's what Bhagavan said. And then in the conclusion he said that even among yogis, yoginam api sarvesham api is also. So among these all yogis, the one who is madgatena antaratmana, from the innermost of his heart, who is madgati, that who is devoted to me. Madgati is a wonderful word. If you see, if this one word alone can teach us and tell us that how the life of a devotee or how a life of surrender to the God should be. Madgati, that means I am his gati, that is gati in the sense that is his destination that always lead to him. That is the idea. I am his refuge, that everything leads to me, the God. And as I have said in that Bhagavad Gita, here Bhagavan himself is the orator and who is expounding and the whole of the spiritual life, the practice, the yoga aspect of it, the what is to be practiced in day-to-day life, on the battlefield, in the field of action, what has to be philosophy, everything he is speaking. So it is not one-sided philosophically. It is comprehensive, and that's why we see here. I have referred to this verse number of times, and that has to be referred again and again. We have to remember that what is our concept of God. If Hindu has to be asked, remember only one verse. Only one verse. What is the concept of God in Hinduism? He said, let us better to quote the words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It is the 4th verse of the 6th chapter. That's all. What is the concept of God? Bhagavan says, Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakrutim swam adhishthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. This is what the concept of God is in Hinduism according to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and he mentions all 3 aspects of it. The principal aspect, which is without form or without qualities, attributes, gunas, nirgun, nirakara, that is referred by ajopi san avyayatma. And then he refers to saguna, but without form, aspect of God, that is Ishvara, saguna, nirakara Ishvara. That is referred by bhutanam ishwaropi san. This is the 2nd quarter. And in the last 2 quarters, if it is that the principle which does not have any attribute, including will or whatsoever, that is totally beyond any concept of creation or anything. Then there is the ruler of creation. The second, bhutanam ishwaropi san. Sun is, though it is like that. This just word sun, it reflects this meaning, that though it is like that, ajopi san avyayatma, though ajo, that the one which is unborn, because it is not made up of any 2 things, because it is singularity, it is infinity, it is not product of something else. That's why it is unborn. That's why it cannot be spent or decayed. That's why avyayatma, vaya, it's spending. It cannot be reduced down to anything. That's why avikari. Because there is no vikara, that's why there is no reduction in its entirety. It is always full. Avyayatma. So it refers to the principle Brahman. Brahman, then Ishvara. And then it talks about the ruler of the creation, the ruler of the universe. Bhutanam Ishwaropi san. So though It is not an individual being. He is the ruler of it. He is the principal. Though it is like that, and then he says in the second line of the verse that Prakrutim Swam Adhishthaya, that presiding over my Prakriti, this nature, through which whole this creation is created and exists and dwell in it. That is my Prakriti. I am the owner of it. I am Mayadhisha. I am not Mayadhin. I am not Jiva. Do not be mistaken. I am not you. You must be, here duality is pronounced. Do not be mistaken. I am not you. In Brahman, that Brahman has become everything. Ishvara, he is samashti, that everything exists in him, that you are part and parcel of it. But when it comes to avatara, then he said, do not be mistaken, then you are not me. I am Mayadesha. I am the other kind of thing. I am not Jiva. So, though I appear it like that, that's why it's called as avatara. That he comes down. Comes down. That he is somewhere high, he comes down. Avatara, avatarana. So if he comes down the stair from your first floor of your house, you avatarana. Or that's why the name of the staircase in Sanskrit is avataranika. So God comes down. That's why he is avatara. It is a downscaled form of it, version of it. You understand? Downscaled version of it. It comes with a limitation, it comes with the imperfections, yes, because it is downscaled. But they are also the beautifications of it. So he says, presiding over my mama, this one, Prakrutim Swam, my own Prakriti, Swam, this is the word he used. Prakrutim Adhishthaya, presiding over it. Sambhavami, I take birth. Sambhavami, Atma Mayaya, through my Maya. This is what he says. Two distinct words he used, Prakriti and Maya. So Maya is the appearance, what it appears to us, that is Maya. So this is what in one verse Bhagavan had said, touched everything, what philosophically concept of God is. Now, so we see this second chapter, the fourth, fifth chapter, sixth chapter about the ideas of meditation comes into it, the control of mind, etc. comes into it. So this is what we see. First chapter on the whereas Arjuna Vishad Yoga, that is like a problem statement. You see. So when you have to explain some project, you have to tell as a part of the project brief, there has to be problem statement. Why this project is needed. So why Bhagavan has to go on speaking for 18 verses, 18 chapters? The reason is Arjuna. Because he was so overwhelmed and taken over by his emotions that it took him long time to recover. Sri Ramakrishna very funnily he said, see, Arjuna, he had listened to all 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. But what happened? When his son died, he was weeping like a woman. Obnoxiously he is weeping. So all knowledge vanished away. Yes. So, the Arjuna, because of him, we have the Bhagavad Gita. So, and because when we had started this class, most of you were not there. And in that class, though earlier Swamiji had taken up to probably some verses up to second chapter and then he has left. But instead I started with the first chapter and therein I explain the problem of Arjuna, taking verse by verse what is happening in the mind of Arjuna. Very interesting to see what kind of the content of Arjuna's arguments. And if we see them, that we find them very sound. But it is the Krishna who points out the folly of it. And he starts with means he opens with something like a forceful anger and uh, condensation for Arjuna. The Klaibyam Masma Gamah Partha. That Arjuna is the man among men. He says that do not be a cleaver, a neuter gender, who is not a man, neither a woman, so maybe inferior. He said, do not Klaibyam, you are going to Napunsakata. So Arjuna is one of them, is the whoever are there on the battlefield, one of the choicest, finest of the men. To him he says, Krishna is as if took out a whip and lashing him. Klaibyam masma gama partha naita tvai upapadyate. Shudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva uttishta parantapa. This is what he said. So we see, and another way of looking these verses, as I see, that in the first these 6 chapters, we see all the emphasis on Purushartha. And this is a very better way of looking at it, because it does, in one word, does justice to all 6 chapters, that what Bhagwan's emphasis is Purushartha. 99% of it, a forceful. And then comes the second 6 chapters. These 6 chapters, now which we are going to begin with from the 7th chapter onward, they are very mystical. And only the 10th chapter is called as Vibhuti Yoga, or the 11th chapter is called as Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga. But all these 6 chapters, they are like Vibhuti Yoga of they can be referred as Vibhuti Yoga of Bhagwan. Everywhere now, where this knowledge is established in the 6 chapters, first 6 chapters, now it is now being extrapolated that he has become everything. This idea will be throughout these 6 chapters, that I am this everywhere. And this idea, so first what we see as a thesis, Purushartha, the principle. And here we see the person, that principle they are personifying in the next 6 chapters, or which teaches the bhakti, the sharanagati, surrender to him. And what we see in the next 6 chapters, the last 6 chapters from 13 to 18, the synthesis of this, the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So here in these 6 chapters, sometimes some verses that you can just read the meaning and there is nothing more to be explained. If you know the words, that's it. And there are some such verses that you do not know what to say about them. Even Swami Vivekananda said about couple of verses while speaking in the Western world, that he said, while quoting, referring to those verses, that he says, I myself do not understand much of it. We'll get them verses, those verses. And really, they do not make much sense. Or we do not know how to find its veracity. So these 6 chapters, they are like mystical part of Bhagavad Gita. Meanwhile, we will all the time, we will definitely find the nuggets, something of golds, when we will be going through it. So if earlier the first 6 chapters, they are for the philosophical mind, this is for the temperament of the devotee. The next set of 6 chapters from 7 to 12. So this is in brief the introduction of our, in the context, because in the last class we concluded our deliberation on the first 6 chapters, and we are entering into the next set of 6 chapters. This chapter, this adhyaya, is called as Jnana Vijnana Yoga. And what is Jnana and what is Vijnana? Everything, it will puzzle, and it would be open to various kind of interpretation. So something is which is mystical and is not based and rooted and tied to something very very rational or concrete, it will be like that. But everything has its own beauty. So arts is like that. So like Purana portion of our this, there are Upanishads. They are based on very rational thought. Or like Brahma Sutra, which is purely Nyaya Prasthan. It is based on the logic, argumentation. But Puranas are not like that. But they also have been built upon the ideas which are contained in the Vedanta in the form of stories. Okay, so suppose I had no leaning towards such thing, so to say, that Puranas meant for the not meant for me. Had this kind of attitude. Then I found Swami Vivekananda saying that they are not to be read and understood like that. Your art, these stories, these parables, these anecdotes, they are not to be reasoned with, because they are not crafted with that kind of attitude and with that kind of intention. They have a different role to play. What role they play? They build up the soul of the human being. Our life is not only governed and carried by just by reason. It is not. Emotions has a big part, a role to play. And here we see Arjuna is the prime example of it. He is at the mercy of his emotion. That's why he's totally decapitated. Don't we see? So it is not only reason, because people do not carry themselves or conduct themselves or ways of the world. They are not only governed by reason. Emotion is subtle. Emotion is not straightforward, and it has a very lateral and complex effect even on our reasoning. So bhakti, or which tenders or caters to this self of human being, emotional self of human being, it is not to be left unattended. It should be properly cultivated. That is very important. And reason and emotions, when they are properly balanced and they find their respective places in the psyche of a human being, then only a proper, well-developed, well-balanced human being is formed. And he can find peace, he can find success, efficacy in his life, in conducting himself, dealing with others, and these people can really be blessing to his family, to his friends, and to the society. So what Swami used to say, that our head, heart and hands to be in unison. That our reason, our emotions and action, they are in tandem. So there is a cohesion, there is integrity. That is the perfectly developed personality. That should be the ideal, spiritual ideal for a human being. What he should be, he or she should be. It is to be like that. So we see a story is being told, and there in the story some rabbit goes to a lion, and then the rabbit is speaking, and you say, how can a rabbit speak? That is now the story is to be understood. It is not the purpose of the story. How does rabbit speak to lion? That is not the purpose of the story. The moral of the story lies in, you just listen to the story. Do not reason with it now. It has a message to be given. So that is how it is true about Puranas or Bhakti or this vast area of literature. So here we are entering in the similar domain here in the second set of the 6 verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. With pranam to Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Once again, we enter here in the 7th chapter, Saptamodhyaya, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. So, it opens with the exhortation of Bhagavan, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha means said, Shri Bhagavan said, Maya Saptamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Jnasyasi Tashrunu. So, this is the first verse. So, it had concluded in the earlier chapter as I have said to you that among the yogis, the one who is devoted to me from within his self, and he is Shraddhavan. In the last class, I explained these ideas, what is Shraddhavan and Bhajate, that he worships me from the innermost of his heart. And he says, Sa me yuktatamo mataha. In my mataha, me mataha, sa, that person is yuktatamaha. That is the highest, the most superior class of the yogis. The one who is among all such yogis, who is devoted to me, I am his gati. That everything what happens to in his life, it directs that individual to me, mad gati. I am his refuge. In 10th chapter, beautiful verse will come, which says that reflects the similar idea. This idea will be reflected again and again, come again and again. That this is, as I said, that this one word, Madgati, can tell us what is the life of devotee is. That whatever happens in his life, it directs him, it reminds him of the God, it connects him to the God. God being the consciousness which is present within his heart here. Not looking at just an image on your wall or a pratima in your shrine or in temple. Because the one who is Avatara, he is also Ishvara. As in 18th chapter, Bhagavan had said that Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hruddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So, that God, in the form of that consciousness, is present in every human being. It is present in my heart, your heart, everybody's heart. We must look toward it. That indrawnness, that connection to yourself, that connection to God within, reminding that you are a fraction of that fire, the spark of that fire, reminding you of your divinity, of your destiny, of your purpose, that how you should. So, that Madgati, this one word, can tell us if there is an individual which is always anything but it connects to him. Life is with lot of certainties, good or otherwise. But suppose there is a difficulty, we go and pray to God. That is, oh Bhagwan, मुझे बचाओ, ऐसा इसमें संकट से निकालो वगैरह. There is good, nice thing going on. We do not remember God. How can a generally good thing, where we are tend to lose ourselves, forget ourselves, can remind us? That does that a nice moment or nice time spent in any good thing, so to say, which you basically enjoy. It might be watching alone movies or chatting with friend or whatsoever, or good food or celebrating your success or whatever it can be. Unexpected getting some money. So it can be anything. How does a person will remember God when they are naturally pulling us out of ourselves and we lose ourselves into it, isn't it? This is the world from here, and here is the God within. How can that person be indrawn? unless that person is terrified of these things, that he thinks this is a distress. How does that happen? How it may happen? Why this is distressful? Because on the other hand, you are saying that is enjoyable. How can it be at the same time distressful? It can be distressful only then when you are trying to leave them. Suppose there is a drunkard, but he thinks that that drinking excessively has caused a lot of harm to his health, his family, and everything, all prospect of his. So he must leave. All right. So, but drinking of course he enjoys it. Otherwise he wouldn't become drunkard. So there is a paradox. He drinks when he forgets and he enjoys. But when he comes out of that intoxication, then he understands that he had done a mistake. Now he is resolved that to transcend that, to get over his habit, that he has failed it, that he could not strengthen his will, that it will again drag him, that for the time being I have this sanity, but it will soon vanish away, and it will again pull me into that mire of repeated, that cycle of repetition. Why somebody would want to leave that? That is the question. So why something which is enjoyable, which is pleasurable, why somebody would want to leave that then? Why does somebody even think in these terms? So there has to be some reason. So reason is that every moment, every instance of pleasure is fraught with distress, is fraught with fear, it comes with riders, conditions. It can never be that you have only pleasures and you will not have sorrow. They always come with it. And that's why the fundamental rule, the basic principle, which tell that if you want to escape the sorrow, you will have to leave the pleasure. Then how the person will live? They say, yes, you leave the pleasure, but it is not that your life has to be without any joy. There are higher pleasures. You can seek them, but you have to leave the lower pleasures. That is the idea. And that is the evolution of any human being. That is, whenever this one idea has manifested, that alone tells the culture of a human being. How much he lives in the lower pleasures, how much he can align, he find joy in the higher pleasure. Lower pleasure are like animals, just like eating, maybe. Swamiji says in the Jnana Yoga that one of our Swami Brahmachari, he had liked that line and he had memorized it, of course, and he sometimes used to quote it just for the sake of the fun. Swamiji is saying that human beings, they are evolving. They are not animals. So, to say that, he said that no human being can eat with the gusto, with the palate of a dog or a pig. We cannot eat like that. Do we? We have limitations. Now we go many times. I have not gone to any 5-star hotel, but I have in the movies or in the lot of this one media, what we see sometimes they show. So in there is an ad. Okay, one fellow goes to that 5-star hotel, and there he thinks, and there is a menu card. Okay, and everything is very costly, very expensive, and he selects something which he might be able to afford from his wallet, and there is that shape, cause it means a long 3-sentence name of it. Okay. And then it is served to him. What is it? Samosa. And there are 3 droplets of this one tomato sauce there, and one small twig of coriander, and nicely garnished and presented to him. He came with the dish he brings, with all his paraphernalia, with the white gloves and his cap and this long coat, and there is a big the steel bowl. He opens it and presents me. One samosa is there. So, so point is, we we do not just it is not but all the more people are spending more and more on expensive dining. Don't we see that? So they charge some way that is different, but people are going. That's why those industries are flourishing, isn't it? What are people looking at? Are they not able to find that food at a lower cost? Probably, even probably better than that. As far as taste is concerned, as far as, suppose, let's say, quality is concerned, as far as, say, hygiene is concerned, everything. As far as, for what food you take, you will say for our health, for our energy, nutrition, etc. These are the means primary purpose of food. But is that the person who is spending for this thing? He is not spending for energy. He is not fed for the health or hygiene or nutrition or any such concern. He is not giving that extra money for these things. These things are available at a lower cost. What is he spending for? He is spending for something else, which is called as experience. We call that as an ambience. And going to a 5-star restaurant and dining there, it's a different experience. Why do we all the time we have our cheap meals? It's all right. Sometimes we must do lavishly or something. People go to various places. Tourism industry is based on your urge of spending. Because you go, you spend more. They know this is our psyche. It is not we bargain like that. What we bargain in our own hometown. We do not see anymore then. Taxis or accommodations or whatsoever, travel or whatever, or dining, or you are spending like anything. Aren't we? So, point is only this much, that our pleasures, what we draw, that we are ready to spend more. It is not we are eating for filling our stomachs, aren't we? Want something more, and it is this is one example I gave to you. So what we see, so in economics, these three concepts, I have said this earlier, like they are called as needs, comfort, and third thing is called as luxury. Okay, so needs, they are quantity bound. What are your needs? That is the lowest strata of life. So just trying to fulfill your needs. You have to have stomach full of food so that you can work. So, and then when you have sufficient of it, you have earned sufficient of money, you go to the next level. Then comfort. It is not only now quantity. You want now quality. Good quality of food, good quality of apparels, everything. Not only in the same locality you want to live. Now it's different. You are talking about comfort, convenience, all these things. And you can extend them, but to a level. After that, you cannot like that law of diminishing returns. Adding more or buying more expensive actually is not increasing more comfort. You have one shoe, two shoes are good enough, three for different purposes, four. How many you can add to your comfort? It is no more adding comfort. How expensive your shoe can be to add to your comfort? How expensive? There is a limit. You cannot go beyond that. And it does not add comfort after that point. And every 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 rupees you are adding to it. Suppose, say, for example, shoe. How much comfort is it adding? Earlier you used to buy Bata company's power brand shoe. Now you have gone to then Puma, Reebok, and Adidas. You have everything. Where now how much it is adding to your performance? You are speak strictly about the comfort. आपके पास पहले मारुति थी और आपने मतलब एक स्टेप ऊपर how much, just speaking rationally and sanely, how much now extra few lakhs you are adding to your car, how much it is improving on the comfort? Let us not get emotional about अरे ये Audi है. Do not talk like that. Let us talk about that, because if we are talking about the comfort, how much this comfort being is returned to you with those extra lakhs of rupees, and you will see it is reducing. It does not add much. This is the general knowledge. Nobody can doubt it. It is not that you should not buy Audi or BMW or whatever you want, but comfort is not the reason now. Remember, now you talk about the class. That's what luxury talks about. Now, luxury is indulgence. So, what happens? As the human being evolves, now everywhere I talked about the material something. Okay. His ability to draw pleasures and senses. Now he just don't want food to be served to fill his stomach. It must be cooked very nicely. It must have very delicate smells. As expensive as food you see, so it is like art, craft. Means it is proper research. You will see that if somebody becomes chef and somebody becomes doctor, probably that chef is earning much more than the doctor. Just for the sake of, because how everything just to indulge you, to entertain your senses, because you can only eat a little bit, because you already might be taking a dozen full of medicines, and list of checklist your doctor must be giving to do this many tests. You can eat very little, and it is conditioned by so many factors. So how it can be made as pleasurable, as intensely pleasurable, as unforgettable as possible? They are all trying that. How to do that? So apart from other ambience, we see them dressing, garnishing, its presentation, even the temperament, look, behavior, character of the person who is serving you. Everything is counted. That fellow is not just some school dropout. He know how to talk to you. You might be very great man in your field, a business tycoon. So everything, this is how this is happening. So it is as you grow, as that person evolves, that we say. So what are we doing then? It is we want something to engage our senses, immerse our senses, those something which is being presented to us to captivate our senses, so that we can forget. Now this is the important point. Forgetting ourselves into it. That is what we look at. That experience is such that you forget about all your rest of your things. That's why that all other disturbing thoughts which might be stressful, that they goes to the back of your head, and you enjoy, you forget, you immerse, you lose yourself into it. As much the thing is grosser, then many times we will say don't eat like animal. Are you an animal? Don't behave like an animal. Do not be so gross. It is very crude. These kinds of remarks you might have heard. Higher pleasures than that. That only indulging upon senses, or better than that, can you indulge into reason? Or you can appreciate. So probably art. that you cannot understand of art in higher society, higher echelons you go, means many people, they simply buy art to show that they can understand art, they have appreciation of art. It is the significance that he is a evolved individual. He may not understand the classical music, but he has to attend it. Otherwise, he would be considered as a gross, unevolved individual. He must go. If there is a painting exhibition, he has to go. Otherwise, he will be sold as a crude fellow, labor class, because he does not appreciate art. This I used to say to see how things like these major three streams, that art, commerce and science. So I say that commerce is the most basic, because in which it is based upon the need and transactions, demand, supply. It is not the need that he must find an answer to it, because it is the intrigue, the question itself is there, that itself is the reason. That's why pure sciences, or like mathematics, or different sciences, what today we are using in a lot of this computing power, it started at just as intrigue. There was nobody could see or foresee or think that this knowledge would be tomorrow used as in computer science, and this many things problem could be solved. Nobody ever thought that. But it was a passion of that knowledge, pursuit of knowledge is higher than that. And then comes the art. Now what is art about? That it is still higher than that. It is like knocking on the doors of the transcendence. Swamiji says that art is his definition of art, wonderful. He says that every art, or that would be an art which is a failed attempt to express the inexpressible, to trying to capture the glimpse of infinity, which is infinite. How to grasp it? It will become finite. A failed attempt at it, that is art. So you might have heard this phrase, the state of art, where it is used in extremely complicated and complex pieces of engineering sometimes, and they say the state of art. Why it is said? I never understood this phrase. What is the meaning of state of art? I thought state is like state, country, state of art. Why it is state of art? State is like there's states of matter, solid, liquid, gaseous, like state. That is the state of art, that one. That science, that engineering has been taken to the level of art. Art is the highest. Art you will see everywhere, in any field, any walk of life, ruling on the top. Maybe it is engineering company, maybe it is whatever, maybe it is science, maybe it is commerce. But at the top of it, you will, whatever your subjects may be, there will be always these ideas comes. Interpersonal relationship, management, vision, understanding of these things, these which are exactly the domains of arts. You might be engineer, you might have gone through any field, but to rule at the top, you will have to evolve into the arts. This is the plan of the nature. This is what it is. You might be holding degree, you call it art, but it will come to it ultimately. Something more than that, when you have to become, then only art comes to the rescue. So, one great philosopher, Schopenhauer, had said that when religion ends, philosophy begins, he had said. So, in that sense, religion, which is like which is a matter of habits, going to church and doing some kind of ritualistic things, which are just habitual things. When you transcend that, the real quest of truth, that is the real true pursuit of the truth, that is philosophy. That's he said. Now, the art, we can say, as I said, it is knocking on the doors of transcendence. The philosophy being the highest of it, which raises the very fundamental questions of the existence of human being, of the world, the purpose, and how a man should live by. So we can say in the end, when philosophy ends, the true religion starts. Because in Hinduism especially, we believe the real religion starts when your talking stops, when your brain, your thinking, your reasoning, ratiocination, your argumentation in your head, they come to a stillness and you long for the experience. Now, this is the vertical of evolution and culture of a human being. As you find any human being aligned and more at home and higher verticals, you will find that human being and more evolved, more cultured. Just only in the sake of commerce, आप मुझे कितना दोगे, मैं आपको कितना दूंगा. A basic crude human being who is interested by the intrigues of the rational thought. He is a evolved human being. Science intrigues him. Anything he has rational reasoning in his value that, sir, you have done a mistake, and it is pointed out. He has the courage to accept. He accepts it amicably. He is a evolved human being. A crude fellow, when he see that it is a loss of my interest, he will deny. That is not an evolved human being. So he gives importance to the reason because he trusts, he abides by it, he aligns by it. Evolved human being. He more than that. Even by reason, it is my right to take your property. But for the sake of it, okay, I leave it. That is still further evolved human being. Now he goes beyond, transcends the reason. It is not reasonable to do. Any great feats done by the people, they are not done by the reasonable people. When they have bunked their reason, then only they could commit something. They could create, they can become something which is extraordinary, extra human. You have to transcend that. That इसका माउंटेन ड्यू का ऐड आता है ना, डर के आगे जीत है. So, meaning that you have to transcend, that you have to get your emotions in your custody. You have to rise above them. This is the vertical, this is the path. And here, when you search that what is the true meaning of life, why human being is trying so many things, why every small and big endeavor or enterprise, what it aims at, what man is trying to achieve. He raises this, he comes, that evolved human being, he will intrigued by such questions. Other person, a crude person, he is a waste of time. What it is going to fill my stomach? This is the question they are going to ask. He cannot correlate to such kind of passions of a human being. These are the higher passions. This is the higher nature of a human being. It is the evolution of that human being. I say they are like three curves. One is called as the material curve, which shows the total evolution of human being right from the plasma to Homo sapiens. That is the material curve. It is only due to material evolution you are evolving. But as soon as, or just prior to it, where it made you distinct from other species, it is because your cerebral capacity. Cerebral, that made distinct. You are not this survival of the fittest. You are not the strongest. You are not the fastest. You are not the most accurate, or you may not surpass anybody or most of the other species in whatsoever physical capacity. Yet you are the fittest. How do you rule over the earth? Because this is the new curve which rises from the material, which is called as the intellectual curve. And here now further evolution of human being is taking place. That you develop, the societies are developed, people, the value system is developed, ethics is developed, morality is developed. How man should conduct his life, how he should approach his life. We do not live like animals. So, I once saw that it was raining torrentially. Okay. And some farmer was grazing his cattle. There were cows and there were buffaloes. So that rain was so torrential. So cows returned to the shed, but buffaloes kept eating. They in that rain also, they didn't mind that. They were nicely, happily grazing. I said, see, just the difference between these two, that this buffalo doesn't mind. So, whereas cow is more sensitive, it immediately seek the shelter. So, there is a difference from how we live our life, our aspirations, what we want in our life. In general, we're most ordinary human being, if you see. Probably now, Miss, apart from this, some dogs and cats, because as I learned that dogs also get emotional, and if they are not shown love and affection, they also get depressed. I was able to see that probably animals in general, they do not have such emotional need as human beings. We do not want that not only food and shelter and everything is given to me, it should be given with affection, respect, etc. Or this thing should increase my dignity in the society, or it should help me in other ways, the how I dress or how I carry myself, how I speak, how I interact with others. Now, so this is the second curve, the intellectual curve. So when it is at its ripe and maturity, there emerges the third curve out of it, which is called as the spiritual curve. Now it does not anymore satisfy that person, which he sets the journey on it, and slowly he comes to these thoughts and ideas. Not only spiritual is meaning that you go to probably Bhagavad Gita class or temple or do some upasana, parayana, etc. Not only that, you will find these people everywhere where these things, they are slowly progressing. You will see that what kind of ideas they respond to. You will see they are already, they slowly, they will come towards it. This is the growth, this maturity, this is happening. This, as you find people on different curves, this is the evolution of a human being. As you find on the higher and higher up on the curves, these are the more cultured, more evolved human beings. And this I said, that in respect of these ideas that come in this last verse of the earlier chapter, Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukto tamamatah. That idea of madgati, that why somebody would want to live, which is obviously pleasurable. And that's why I said that there is that higher pursuits, higher passion, higher desires of human being, as they evolve, they emerge, and that's why it becomes logical for that human being to part way from it, which is ordinarily customary for everybody else. So here we conclude. We will carry forward our discussion in the next. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.